Sunday morning coming down. The busload of new wavers is waking up after a long, hard night on the road to Wellington. Few have had much sleep, but although it's been a fairly boisterous evening, it's been relatively quiet for high-energy punks.
Now these kids, when they go out to have a good time, they really go all out to have a total bash. They just blow themselves apart. You know, they buy their booze, they drink it all fast, and they'll get anything else down if they can, and they get totally out of it, and they go in there and they just go berserk. And you know, and the same thing goes for the way that they look. They are extremists.
Like anyone who's extreme, the punks face problems, and for the most extreme of them, a big problem is violence. Despite their razor blades and swastikas, the punk stratagem is playful rather than violent. The violence is inflicted upon them.
We're pacifists.
We got beaten up at a party by berries, rugby players. People who don't like us.
What do you call them? Berries?
Berries.
Rugby players
in general.
So we can do.
Beat up punks.
Is this quite a problem if you're a punk?
Yes,
Yeah.
very much so.
I was walking along with a group of people outside a hotel right now. and this person that looked as if they were really interested in disco came rushing up and accused us of being punks, and we thought he must have been joking, and I said, "Oh, you're a disco freak, are you?" And he just just wasn't humorous about it at all. And then he went back to his car and we all jumped into our car, and then we noticed that he was advancing with this great big huge iron bar, and so we just tried to, he banged the back of the car as somebody was getting in, and he was sort of coming up. It was just really, really unpleasant.
But he was probably just loading you as a punk, just for an excuse to be aggressive towards you. I mean, I've been threatened and belted up before, but only years before punk hit New Zealand, only because I was different.
Any extreme movement in society is generally misunderstood. And misunderstanding usually expresses itself in a social context in a violent form. And naturally the people who identify with this extreme form of expression, and it is extreme to a certain extent, come in for abuse. And that sometimes manifests itself in a violent way.
You find that girls are more aggressive towards you as punks than men?
Catty, smart.
And sort of
I don't
quite
know.
heavy.
Oh, no,
Give us some examples.
Well, in pubs, for instance, in the toilets, they just sort of, I don't know, really smart. Walk down the street. I walked down the street on Friday, and all down the street, hordes of people kept coming down, and girls kept trying to trip me up, kick me.
Really?
Yeah, and I walked down with Mark lives down the corner, and walking so well, and they just had sort of all these crowds of people follow us and then sort of go away and then follow us and go away. Just sort of...
Of course, you get a fairly ignorant section of society who will resort to violence to express their incomprehension of what is actually developing.
How many times have you been beaten up?
Just once.
Show me scars, go on, show me
I get
scars.
pushed
Just
a lot.
once, but harassment in the streets.
Sort of
Kicked
walk
out
up
of
the tree and get
shops.
knocked down.
Stared at, glared at, jeered at. People sort of hardly serve you, going to a bar and at the airport.
Tell us to go to the public bar?
Won't serve us. Sneakers. Crime. Sneakers
We need
to
to
have.
run away from people.
That is a sneaker.
But it can actually be dangerous to be punk.
That's the best part of it.
Why not? It's a cultural statement in a sense, because most of the interesting, dynamic musicians tend to congregate where the entertainment scene's the largest, and that tends to be Auckland. I like Wellington as a place. It is to a certain extent starved of especially music.
Volume and the Scavengers on stage at the Wellington Town Hall. Johnny Volume is probably the closest New Zealand comes to a punk guitar hero, and many regard the Scavengers as the best punk band in the country. They're about to become our first punk export. They're off overseas soon to have a crack at the big time. Like a number of other punk bands, the Scavengers are convinced they're the best around.
What makes you so sure?
Because we heard the others. Each member of that group is far and beyond, individually, is far and beyond any other member of any other band that's playing in this group of musicians. Johnny Volume and Des both came from ATI, out of the graphic arts course. Johnny never got to realise his potential as a graphic artist by working for anybody. Des did for a short time, but dropped out as soon as he realised what the shock of a 9-to-5 existence was. They're trying to, I think, get themselves now into what would be called power pop, which is the sort of third stage of the punk development. It started a couple of years ago in England with Johnny Rotten and others into punk. That went through to what was probably called New Wave, loosely called New Wave, and now we're into the power pop era in 1978, which is a hard-hitting commercial rock, which has, however, this very definite sort of underground, raunchy gut rock feeling, which has come right back from the punk roots. And I think that the Scavs of all the bands here definitely epitomise that kind of music.
So while the rest of us are still getting used to the idea of punk, the Scavengers have progressed through to new wave and now power pop. There's general agreement among the bands that punk is old-fashioned, but they don't all agree about what's replaced it.
Well, we're trying to progress, get away from punk. It's become a very accepted thing. It's trending, everybody's doing it. And we'd like to move away from that and experiment, try new things, which is how punk started in the first place.
The people are getting this ridiculous idea of punk and new wave out of their heads and realising that what we're playing is just rock and roll.
We want to be more of a futuristic sort of band because it's just a waste of brains just letting them stagnate with punk rock.
Meanwhile, the Idle Idols have made it on stage, from total obscurity to the Wellington Town Hall in just a few weeks.
Are you happy about it?
I was disgusted with it. It's terrible.
Why?
Well, the guitar was up too loud and the bass was down far too low and I just couldn't hear the rhythm. So everything just
Just how important to you was this concert?
But I wasn't terribly nervous about it. It wasn't. I suppose it was. It was our biggest concert we've ever done.
The Town Hall audience is a mixture of tourists, young people who've come along to look at the punks, and the punks themselves. The punks are easy to pick by their furious dancing. Their own special dance step is called pogoing.
Pogoing is just a straight bouncing, really. It's the same as pogoing on a pogo stick, only you don't have the stick. But it's just it's one of the most incredible things to see on the dance floor. You see a whole lot of really hulky guys jumping up and down, sort of, a whole body's length virtually above the rest of the dance floor. And they'll just go berserk, like their energy just comes from somewhere else. It's not a thing you could normally do unless you were really turned on, I don't think, by the music that you're listening to.
As elsewhere, punks in New Zealand have been vilified for their dress, their attitudes and their music, but for most local punks it's more of a fashion than a decadent social trend. For most, the new wave is a hair wave. Mostly it's just raw rock and roll, and the outrage caused is little different than the outrage caused by Mick Jagger when he was young.
The punk phenomenon, or the new wave phenomenon, whatever, is definitely a renaissance, if you like, of the Stones era, really. It's so similar, and it's come out of fairly similar social conditions too, I think.
You think the punk bands these days are shocking appearance in exactly the same way that the Stones did in the early 60s?
Oh, yeah, most definitely. I think that although a lot of parents now are less shockable generally because they've been through 10 years of, you know, a fairly rapid, disturbing events and so on. I still think that they are being shocked, particularly in New Zealand, because, let's face it, we are a terribly conservative country. I mean, it's unbelievable. Auckland is loose, so loose compared with, say, Wellington, where we've just been. But, boy, I mean, when you compare Auckland generally to Sydney, or then if you go to a larger city like LA or New York and then over to London, people here just are not ready for the kind of freaks that turn up, you know.
I mean, everybody wants to rock and roll. They've always wanted to rock and roll. And we're just playing rock and roll, what people want.
I don't like it. Why is it?